Good morning, fellow Ambazonians. Today, we want to share with una one very important meeting for webinar wey don happen about Ambazonia with some international organizations. Webinar for person wey no know na video presentation, workshop, lecture type of a thing where they host them for social media with a software wey they call and say webinar. It is a conference but we na for online where they should on they talk. So big international organization we na researcher them where they don't do research for ground zero, they don't come together for make a report about what really happen for our country. We for PRAP, we don't send the Secretary General of PRAP make it attend that meeting. So I will never make a presentation for tell now what will happen for day. They talk so we know they ever miss opportunity, but make una take time for listen for what way they talk where they get time for the conference where you attend for day. Plenty things that they happen. This was war, they need to fight and only for social media. When I remember how we United Nations, the Secretary General, give a survey about what way Cameroon propose for the special status. Now we go fight them. Because if Cameroon be succeed, the UN for declare an end for the humanitarian crisis, where for me say the war it don't end. Now we go fight them for UN today. The UN end up for send representative for inside Cameroon. I think when I be here, the effort will led by the Vice Chair for PRAP, Mr. Dr. Gabila, where we make that powerful talk about the presentation for UN Secretary General will be doing in this regard. So we're gonna take this thing then seriously. This one are the hard work what they do for diplomacy for make sure so we fight for Ambazonia. We need to talk now for social media. We need talk now we talk amongst ourselves. We need to get that competence and that capacity for talk at the higher level for places resolve it come out for our people then. With that much ado, me gonna listen for the Secretary General of PRAP as he go talk for now what happen for that big meeting where he take part for the. Now the kind meeting that he give the international community because they don't get time for go to search the real thing where it happen for ground and it shape their opinion because this group they na feed them for the international system. Me gonna listen.
Good morning, fellow Ambazonians. Today, 11th of September 2024, I be the Secretary General of PRAP, the People's Right Advocacy Platform, PRAP, headed by the chairperson, Capo Daniel. Today, we want to bring on a very powerful report where it concerns this our struggle. And this report it will be presented by a group or an organization called the Accet. I go throw more light on it, which was titled The Non-State Armed Group and Illicit Economic in West Africa, analyzing the Anglophone separatists in Cameroon. Now, it will be a webinar, a meeting, where it will be held yesterday, the 10th, will be at 6 p.m. for Amber time. And on that, their presentation, they be analyzed a lot of things we see it be very important for our own Ambazonian factions for take note, because when some of these reports they come up, human rights reports, the clergy, the men of God, UN representative, members of the PRAP organization, and many other religious leaders, when they come up with such report and they present them in front of we, they do this because they want a change. Because this our war of liberation has been a collective struggle. When most of these human rights reports they come up, they know they come up now because they hate the Ambazonian people or the former British Southern Cameroon people, or how you can call it, Northwest and Southwest people. No be say they hate we. but now say they don't see the mistakes we they make them, and they want make we bring a change. If we can adjust, we can do an amendment. Now why these Accet will be organization, we be in charge of analyzing the different crises, the crisis in Ethiopia, which can call the war that Ethiopia, the one in northern Nigeria, the Biafran, and many others. So the one yesterday we've been at their thought in sitting, it will be more on that of the separatists in Cameroon. Fellow Ambazonians, I will want to encourage everyone to go through this presentation and the reports done by the Accet and the GI talk is very important. At first, I was biased before the meeting when I saw capture this the armed conflict, the non-state armed group and illicit economic in West Africa, and the Anglophone separatists in Cameroon. I was almost upset, and I felt like this conflict or this war which is ongoing on in Cameroon is between two warring parties, which are the separatists and the Cameroon government. But at the beginning of the meeting, their presentation, their report, it was stipulated that truly they acknowledge that the cause of this armed conflict, it was as a result of the failure of the Cameroon government to sit with its own people. He calls its own people, who they have been working for a number of years. The failure of the Cameroon government to listen to its own people, the cry of its own people, when they demonstrated with a peaceful protest, peaceful voices with plants. The brutality nature of the Cameroon government in response to the peaceful protests, as it is the result, the outcome of it is what has led to the armed conflict. But notwithstanding, their objective or their goal was not to discuss on the government of Cameroon, but to put out their report regarding the separatists in the Anglophone in Cameroon. So I encourage every one of you Ambazonians, the diasporas, whether you're a soldier, Ambazonian fighter, to take a good look at this, because so much time we have been derailed by some of our hardliners, our leaders. Each time such report presentation comes up, they feel that we are biased. That why must the international community, human rights, cardinals, bishop, and the men of God, why must this only call the Ambazonian, the separatists? Aren't they looking at the side of the Cameroon government? Of course, we have journalists, and so many times we have accused these people like Mimimefo and many others, but sometimes they do report the side of the Cameroon government. But notwithstanding, the first thing that they mentioned of was the relationship between the boys and the diaspora, and what impact has that caused on the ground. In 2017, from 2017 and to 2018-19, their pie chart is showing that there was a strong mutual relationship and coordination between the diaspora and the boys, whom they call their own. And that period, you see that there were less kidnapping, there were less human rights violation on the side of the separatists because of the coordination of the diaspora and their boys. Failure and reduction of this relationship of the boys and the diaspora has led to lack of funding to reach the boys, lack of coordination has led to gross violation of human rights, targeting of civilians, causing more pain, arbitrary torturing and kidnapping for ransom. in order for the boys to meet their daily keep, and this has led to an increase in the humanitarian crisis as a result of that. The next point they also look at was the taxes and illicit economic on the side of the separatists, which is causing more pain to the population, the civilians at whole. And then the side of the taxes, they will label you, they prescribe it like what they were saying. And if the diasporas are fully involved and take responsibilities of their role as leaders who the boys are answerable to, there will not be increase in gross violation and civilian being targeted. They will respect the laws of international communities and they will do the right thing. So failure of that relationship, the breakaway of that relationship, that has shown an increase from 2017 to 2018-19, then it shows a maximum drop. That is an increase of breakaway from the diaspora and the boys from 2019 to 2024 currently. Is what is causing the untold pain that fighters can go out there and make any lousy decision on how they feel, how they want, based on their own emotion. Now it's not in a coordination with the diaspora. This is affecting the crisis and affecting the population seriously. Then also the mention of the tax policy, which I'm sure implemented, which started from the EGOV-C. They say this also has caused an untold pain to the population, to so many local population, local sellers who could not afford money to pay for this tax. They have been targeted, and some of them have been kidnapped and so on. And all these taxes and illicit economy to raise funds, and they also mention of the smuggling of fuels, cannabis to raise money. This thing has also give another way for criminals to indulge, to hide themselves in this armed conflict, to be doing such things. So the mention of the tax policy, which has really caused a lot of pain and has given way to civilians to be targeted who fail to comply. And they also mentioned the example nowadays that if the military of the Cameroon government caught you with the receipt of the tax, you will be targeted as supporting the separatists. And on the other hand, if the separatists also find out that you have not paid your tax, you will be caught of not respecting their law. So all this is causing massive pain to the civilian and the population, and all this is derailing the struggle which their aim at which they started before. Then they look at they also look at the increase in civilian targeting using the pie chart. They said in 2017 to 18 there was actually no civilian targeting. At most it was a standstill. Then they look at 2018 to 2020, there was a massive increase. 2021 there was a drop, and I'm sure there was a particular drop because that period there was a massive international call to see how they can solve this problem. And in 2021 to 2023, there is, up to this moment, there has been an increase in civilians targeting, increase in kidnapping and so on the side of the separatists, causing the civilian an untold pain. And we can see that clearly, how some group categorically today they are seeing clearly that some leaders, some groups who were first of all fighting for a genuine cause are no longer fighting for the interests of the cause, but they are fighting now for their own personal interests. And in the diaspora, they say they can see the different factions. Everyone is trying to fight for his own personal territory interests rather than for the general territory. They also did mention of the organizational structure of the separatists, which also causing an effect to the situation in the life of the civilian. That the organizational structure, the different factions, that everyone is trying to maintain a monopoly, trying to maintain a decision on the ground, trying to make superiority is also what is causing the pain and the torture and kidnapping and a lot of things because of the different factions. And nobody is ready to take responsibility. If A commits atrocities, A will say B, B will say C, and at the end of the day, the civilians are left in their own fate to to survive. So the organizational structure too of the side of the Ambazonia is what has. They also did mention of the governance and strategies of the separatists, their factions, and their strategies of lockdowns to show their supremacy and governance, refusing of technicians who are involved in a network, electricity to do their work properly, to assist the population to gain light and electricity, receiving all those kind of threats in the name of governance and strategies has also affected the population and the civilians as a whole. And they also mentioned of the use of violence last threats, like the recent one that happened in Boya, where a group of fighters were seen on the social media threatening the population of a good lockdown, that if you are seen on the road you will be killed and your body will be dumped and so on. So those are some of the means that the separatists have been using, which is poorly affecting the civilian as well as their goal to attain their freedom. And they also mention of the patchwork and public services. That's because of this their violence nature and the approach of their war, it has really left a poor nature of work to be done on the urban and rural areas, that you only see patches of work on different places and there's no coordination. Checkpoints and taxations, to which they reiterate again, has also been a toll. You see Ambazonian separatists mounting checkpoint and posts to collect money and ransom, kidnapping and torturing. So I think they did mention a lot of things. They really emphasize that from 2016, 17, and 18, 19, there was a proper coordination, there was a proper management, and from 2019 to this present moment, the violence has increased on the side of the separatists towards their civilians, towards the population. Kidnapping has increased for ransom, and all this is bringing down failure and is taking the crisis or the war closer to an end that can be described as considered as an extreme end, that it will no longer be seen as a genuine cause or people fighting for freedom, for independence, but it will rather be seen as a faction, it will rather be seen as terrorists, it will rather be described in future if they don't consider their ways, if things are not taken into consideration, that if the separatists are not called to order, they don't realize their position and take measures, that in a few years to come, as you can see for their chart, and constant increase in the civilians targeting, kidnapping, taxation, arbitrary arrests, and a lot of this in pressure, lockdowns, school boycott, and increases pressure that if care is not taken, the struggle will be termed an extremist struggle or a terrorist struggle, as that's seen in other cases and other countries. So that's just how the presentation was. I think they did a very wonderful presentation, and if I wish everyone, you can go through their report. I encourage you to go to your website, https:/accetdata.com 2000/2024-09. I will take it over again. Now, what does this sound to us, Ambazonian? Each time we get such report and presentation, these people, they are on ground and they are in the diaspora, and they know exactly what is going on. And how is this report going to help us to solve our problem? If people like this can come up with such report and they tell you that your crisis, and it tells you that your movement, your action that you are doing is actually targeting more of the population, more of the civilian, rather than the other party, which is the military. It tells you of the nature of the war. And from all indication, we can see that this is not the first report, it is not the second report. And if the Ambazonian leaders cannot sit together, if the Ambazonian people cannot sit together and carve a policy and a strategy, a method that will also favor the civilian, the population, Then I think from their presentation, it is showing that the world is gradually shifting. The international community is gradually shifting. Countries are shifting, implied in support of what they believe or what they are fighting for. Yeah, and in nutshell, it's showing that the role for the international community to solve this Anglophone problem is going down to 0.001, that the interest is gradually reducing. And all this is as a result of the activities of the separatist fighters from 2019 to the current present moment, that the rate of torturing, the rate of harassment of civilians, the untold punishment given to civilian, taxes, kidnapping, and so on, target killing that has been happening. It's what is pushing the international community and other partners and members, pushing them away to find themselves involved in such situation. And the different factions too are not aligning in policies, coming together to make one policy, like the Ghost Town which occurred. You see so many different dates and many different times and many different places, and they are not in agreement. Everybody now is showing that everybody is fighting for his own benefit rather than from the interest of all, when at first it started in 2017. So we can see that the course of the war from 2017 has shifted from its original course from 2017 to 2018. It has shifted to personal interests, and it has become a money-making machine, and become a farmland to some separatist fighters and leaders in the diaspora, where fighters are being seen kidnapping people, making money, and transaction is being sent to diaspora and making them business growing. And all this is affecting the crisis and affecting the solution which can be put on the table, because most of the time we see civilians suffering on the hands of the separatists rather than on the side of the Cameroon government. So this report is a reflection for us to go back on the drawing board and do the right thing. Thank you.